Welcome everyone. I'm really excited to know that you're here. I was saying to the panelists earlier that the weirdest part about doing a webinar is that you can't see the people who are attending. So I would love to see you, but I'm glad to know you're here. And I'm glad you're joining us today because this is going to be a really wonderful webinar. We have 10 different offices here on campus joining us to talk about all the different resources we have here on campus that are part of the Office of the Vice Provost for Academic Affairs. So what that means is it's a collection of offices that are helping us think about our academic development that happens outside of the classroom, though it's often connected to the classroom. If you haven't been a part of a webinar before, I want to tell you how it will work. First of all, we're recording this webinar because we have lots of students who either aren't able to make it at this moment, or perhaps it is 4 o'clock in the morning where they are and they want to have a chance to be able to watch it. So we'll post this webinar online. And I also want to let you know that there's a question and answer function on the webinar. Lots of students submitted questions in advance, which is really helpful. And I'll start with those questions as we speak to the panelists. But if questions occur to you as you're hearing answers or new things that you realize you're wondering about, please drop those questions in the question and answer feature that's right at the bottom of your screen. And we'll do our best to get as many questions answered as possible. If there are some questions that we just don't have time for, then the office that is getting the question will make note of it, and we'll just make sure to get that out to you as soon as we can. So again, welcome. I want to ask each panelist to introduce themselves and to tell you all a little bit about the office that they represent. So Mariah, let's start with you.
Hi, so I'm Mariah Ford, and I am one of the librarians here. I'm at the law library, and there's a lot going on in the library, but generally what you would be interacting with the library for are a variety of things. You might be in to study, you might be in the library because you have a research question, or you are looking to access certain resources, such as everything from the New York Times to checking out a laptop to a book to any number of our databases. You might be in the library because we're teaching you with a tutorial, or you might be in the library working. So we do hire a number of student research assistants and student workers as well. So that's kind of how you might be interacting with the library, and it's by no means everything that we do. And when I say in the library this year, a lot of that might be happening online. And so the kind of key takeaway for all of you is check out the law library, or check out the library website. It will have a plethora of information that will help you sort of learn library hours and that sort of thing, but I'm happy to speak more about any of those questions as well.
Hi all, my name is Megan Smith. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I work in the Office of Active Citizenship and Service at Vanderbilt. Our office, our acronym is shortened to OAKS. We exist to connect members of the Vanderbilt community with the broader community that could be Nashville, more nationally, internationally, with community engagement experiences and support with civic participation. So that can look like advising student-led service organizations, semester-long co-curricular programs where we dig into particular social issues, days of service, support for voting, and other forms of civic participation. So would be happy to answer some of the questions that y'all have posted, and anything else that you'd like to know. I do just want to note that while we do have the word citizenship in our name, our services and our approach is not limited to a legal citizenship status. But active citizenship, we mean more engagement, civic participation, and there's a lot of really great ways that is still happening, even in these more virtual times. So thanks for being here today, and look forward to sharing more with you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Grundy. I am the director of the Health Professions Advisory Office, also known as the HPAO. Myself and two other advisors, Lauren Rains and Chris King, serve all the students, any student who is interested in health professions broadly defined. So that includes anybody interested in medicine, dentistry, veterinary medicine, physician assistant program, optometry, you name it, we cover it. So we are here really to make sure that you know what the required coursework is going to be for different programs, understand the application process, understand more of the logistics of what those programs are looking for outside of coursework. And I think one thing that's really important to note is that not all, if just within medical schools, not all medical schools are looking for the exact same things. And so our office is really here to help talk through what your goals are, what your interests are, and make sure that you're lining up with all of those from freshman year all the way through. So you don't have to be, 100% interested in medicine to come talk to us, or dentistry, or if you're on the fence. Our office is really here to help guide you through that decision-making process as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Onstead, and I'm from the Global Education Office. My pronouns are he, him, his. The Global Education Office is also known as GEO, G-E-O, and it's the office on campus that connects students with study abroad experiences. And you might come see us if you have questions about all the details and logistics of studying abroad, but you might also come to see us if you want to have a conversation about how your life goals, your personal, professional, academic goals can be met through study abroad. And another thing you might do in a related vein is to come see us about how you might incorporate study abroad into an immersion project here at Vanderbilt. And finally, well, not finally, but the last thing I'm going to say is you might come in for advice on or to get funding for study abroad during the summer months through our Global Summer Fellows program. So.
Hi, everyone. All right. My name is Carrie Cargile, and I am with the Vanderbilt University English Language Center. And the most common reasons that students come to our office are for the following. So we have opportunities specific for speakers of English as an additional language, and those are speaking, pronunciation, and writing courses. Additionally, we have one-to-one consultations around speaking, pronunciation, and writing as well. We also have opportunities available to all students, regardless of what your first language is. And those are an introductory course to teaching English as a foreign language and internships. These are especially of interest for students who are interested in working or teaching abroad. Additionally, we have resources under the resource tab on our website around academic English guides and pronoun usage, as well as supplemental guides to the Commons readings. So I look forward to taking your questions as we move along.
Hi, everybody. Can you see me? Hopefully I've popped up here. I'm Miriam Erickson. I am a coordinator with Tutoring Services, and you should see our website pop up over there in the chat feature, vanderbilt.edu/tutoring. So we offer tutoring in a lot of the introductory and mid-level STEM courses and econ. If you have not used our services this year, we have been adding more and more and more hours as the fall semester has gone on, and I will be happy to get into the specifics of that. But one of the earliest places that students come to visit us is through the introductory large lectures in chem, bio, and math. So those are where we kind of do a lot of our biggest numbers of client work. But we also offer a lot of work in physics and econ and neuro as well. So alongside offering these services to you guys, I am the coordinator for our staff, who are all peer tutors. So they are your compatriots. They are all sophomores, juniors, and seniors who have taken these courses that you might currently be taking. And they've taken them with the same professors, and they've gone through a lot of the exact same sort of troughs and peaks that you might also be experiencing. So we really like to promote the peer tutoring that you can sort of walk alongside a peer tutor as you are going through the same class with them. And like I said, earlier, there was some Q&A that were sent my way, and I will be happy to get into the specifics there. But I would like to direct all of you to our website, vanderbilt.edu/tutoring, where you can kind of peruse at your leisure the immense amount of information that we have out there. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alyssa McKinnon. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am a program coordinator for the Office of Immersion Resources. So our office helps coordinate Immersion Vanderbilt, which you have probably all heard of at this point. But essentially, for those of you who may still have that question, what is immersion? Immersion is a learning experience that happens in and outside of the classroom, and it'll be done under the guidance of an immersion faculty advisor and will ultimately culminate in the completion of a project. So at some point during your time at Vanderbilt, you will go through this process and complete an immersion project, and our office is here to help you every step of the way. Keyword in our title, Office of Immersion Resources, we are a resource office. So we're here to kind of connect you to different opportunities on campus, different resources that are available, and really just any questions that you have, we are here to help. So a couple resources that you really should be aware of. Advising, first and foremost, is a great resource that our office strongly recommends all students participate in. You will be able to meet with myself or one of the other 5 advisors in the office, and we can talk to you about your ideas. We also maintain the Immersion portal, which is kind of our one-stop shop for all things related to Immersion Vanderbilt. So if you have questions, we have an FAQ session, we do tutorials, webinars, we have an opportunities database where we post all types of opportunities that could potentially be used towards immersion. And then lastly, we do a lot of programming. So different events that you might participate in, such as Vanderbilt Undergraduate Research Fair, the Vanderbilt Undergraduate Creative Expression Showcase, Undergraduate Summer Research Program. We help coordinate all of those different programs. And so that's a big part of what we do to help you connect with your Immersion Vanderbilt project.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Megan Meinerich. I'm the Assistant Director of the Writing Studio and Tutoring Services. Here this afternoon to talk to the Writing Studio aspect of that. And also happy to say that I'm also a faculty viewceptor. So really glad to be taking part in this event this afternoon. The Writing Studio is a resource on campus open to all members of the Vanderbilt community to help you with any writing project, for any class or not for a class at any stage in the writing process. So whether you are working on a more traditional essay-based assignment or a multimodal project, and again, back to immersion, please think about coming and talking to a consultant about your immersion project. We can help you with that. For any class or not for a class, certainly coursework is fair game. So are application essays, and we work with a lot of clients with essays for med school, law school, grad school, internships, and fellowships. Additionally, any stage in the writing process, right? So whether you've just begun working on something and you want help brainstorming, whether you are in the middle of the drafting process and feel kind of stuck and want to work through that with a consultant, or whether you have a nearly finished project and you'd really like someone else's feedback before you click send on that, we can certainly help you with all of these things. In addition to our one-on-one consultation appointments, we also offer undergraduate writing groups that meet weekly, kind of as an accountability support writing setup, as well as undergraduate workshops on different aspects of the writing process. Beyond those resources, please do keep aware also that every spring we host an undergraduate writing symposium, and we will be opening up our call for submissions to that very soon. So if you have a piece of writing that you would like to submit to that, we would love to consider it. And we hire, just like Tutoring Services, we hire undergraduates. That hiring process will begin this January as well. So if you're interested in becoming a writing consultant, I'll be happy to give you more information about that too. So every writer needs a reader. Please come see us.
That's a great slogan. Thank you, Megan. All right, so excuse me, as I mentioned, lots of students submitted some questions already. And so I'm going to start with some of those pre-submitted questions. And actually, one of the first questions, Michelle, I'm going to ask you to answer, but other people might have opinions about this too. So feel free to chime in after. So one question was, when should I start doing internships or trying to get specific job experiences? What would you say about that?
Well, I would say there's not an exact timeline. I think the critical piece is starting to start now, trying to understand what you're interested in, understand what's out there. I don't want students to have this sense of pressure that if you haven't done something by a certain date, that all of a sudden you're going to be behind. I think now, starting to really ask yourself, what questions am I interested in, especially for someone interested in medicine? What are the, what am I interested in? What fields? What, would I be interested in neurology, or am I interested in, cardiac disease or diabetes or pediatric? Just start to ask those questions of what you might be interested in. And then you start taking those steps forward of identifying when those opportunities are available, because a research opportunity might become available before a shadowing opportunity, or vice versa. And so I think maintaining a little sense of flexibility for what you start when is just really important to know that different doors open at different times, but the door's not going to open if you're not knocking on it. So I think it's just really important to be asking yourself what you're interested in to start off with. But freshman year is a great time. Just know it's not important. It's not necessarily urgent that you get started today on a specific internship.
Did anyone, excuse me, my goodness. Did anyone else have anything to add for that one? Well, if not, then I'm going to ask, Alyssa, I'm going to ask you a question about immersion, because actually one of the questions that students asked is almost the opposite of the first question I started with, which is like, how do we decide what to do if there's a lot of things we're interested in? So Michelle's point was about sort of thinking about what you're interested in and trying to explore it's never too early to start exploring. But what if you're interested in lots of things? How does that connect with what's happening for immersion?
Yeah, that's a great question. So definitely this first year on campus is really your time to start exploring and figuring out what are those things that you're passionate about and what do you enjoy. And then when the time comes your sophomore year to really engage in putting, it down on paper, what you're going to do. If you have a lot of different interests, you might consider using immersion as kind of the way to bridge your interest in those areas. With Michelle being here today, I actually met with a pre-vet student who also is taking photography classes. And she's like, I'm wondering if there's ways that I can tie together my interest in vet sciences and photography together. Immersion can be a great vehicle. So I almost think immersion is a way that you can start thinking about how to take, if you're in econ and medicine, health, and society, how do those come together? And then most importantly, as you start thinking about the question or experiences that you might do, I think that'll help you kind of pick a certain topic. So if I love one topic and I also love another, but I know that something I'm doing is going to closely align with the other topic, then maybe that might lead me to, pick that topic that it closely aligns with. But definitely don't feel like you have to pick. Immersion is a way that you can really explore all your interests and find those common threads to really create an exciting project that you're going to be double or triply excited about.
Thank you. Eric, speaking of exploration, people have a lot of questions about study abroad, as you might imagine. I'm just curious if you could talk to us about when you think that study abroad options might be, when students might expect to see them again, and so what ought they do in the meantime until those options are available?
Yeah, thanks, Melissa. So that's a difficult question to answer, of course, because one thing that we know about this whole COVID pandemic and situation is that predicting the future has been very hard. If you look back over time and look at what various folks in the US were predicting, none of that came true. And so I'm not likely to try to predict when we might have study abroad again. But I hope as first year students that before you graduate, you will all have the chance. And it's hard for me to imagine that you won't. But I love the follow-up question to that, because it shows a lot of maturity on the part of the student who asked it. What can we be doing in the meantime? And I think that's where I'm getting excited about the answer. And that is that I think that A major thing that you can be thinking about, and especially with immersion out there, but even if you're not considering study abroad for your immersion, is to really start thinking about what are my life goals and how can I potentially plug study abroad into that or make study abroad a force that helps me achieve those goals. And so that's something that my office would love to help you with. If you want to make an appointment with any one of our advisors at our website, vanderbilt.edu/GEO, which has already been put into the chat. We have an advising page there where you can sign up electronically to make an appointment with one of us, and I would highly encourage doing it because that's one of the things we love to talk about is how you can link study abroad to your goals, and in particular, if one of your goals is to try to link up study abroad with immersion, we would love to talk to you about what those opportunities look like and what you could be doing now once you have an idea in mind for your immersion, what you could be doing now to prepare. So.
And I think every single office that's here today would tell you that you should make an appointment with them now, not when you think you might be interested in doing the thing. And I love what Michelle said, like no doors will open if you don't knock on them. And I think one of the hardest things to figure out is what door should I be knocking on? And the reality is there are all these offices here at Vanderbilt whose entire job is to help you find those doors. And so if you wait to talk to career services until you're a senior, they're still gonna meet with you, but you would have lost 3 years of these incredible resources. Or if you wait until your junior year to connect with GEO, you've missed these years of incredible resources. So everyone here will say, please call us. We have, these offices are student-centered, right? That's why they're here. Let me ask actually, as students are trying to figure out like, well, when would I call you? Mariah, can I ask you a question about the libraries? And the question is like, what can librarians help students with? Like, what are the kinds of things that librarians do and why would a student come and find one?
So the short answer is we can help you with just about everything, but really we are here to help you with any question that you might have about research or any resource out there. And that can be anything from the news to figuring out how to acquire a video camera to locating scholarship. That's one of the biggest ones is when you start writing papers and things like that. We're here to help you locate what you need to write those papers. We're here to help you with citation work. We're here to help you with certain types of instruction about resources, whether it's visualization resources or other things like that. And, you know, I feel like we're all sort of becoming broken records here of check out the website. But if you want to sort of see a list of all of the different types of databases that we provide access to and that we are happy to help you sort of use, you can go to the library website. And so don't ever think that you shouldn't ask us. I know many people come in to college having had a library experience that was either non-existent or a little bit cold in their public schools, and they might be a little afraid of librarians. And please, please, please reach out. You can email us, you can chat us, and you can, when things are back open, you can wander into our offices someday. But mostly what we'll be helping undergraduate students with is your research for school papers, your research that you're helping a professor with. Many times you're doing research for your immersion projects, and we might be helping you with that, citation work, that sort of thing. So any question you might have, feel free to reach out to the library. We also do a lot of directing to other departments.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute myself and instead like clicked away from Zoom entirely. Thank you. So students, speaking of sort of getting help for things, there's a number of questions about both the tutoring services and the writing center to try to understand exactly how things work. So Miriam, if I could just ask you, so there's two questions I think that are linked that students are asking. One is, can you paint a picture of what these tutoring services look like? Is it an individual meeting or is it a group meeting? And related, are those services free or do students have to pay? And then a third tack-on question to that is, what if you need help not in STEM?
Sure, absolutely. So let me paint you a picture. Let's assume you are taking Chem 1601. You've gone through, say, the first 2 months of class and you're feeling pretty good about it, but you have a couple of questions and you're kind of a little bit concerned with asking your professor. Maybe you've asked your professor and you just want a different perspective. So tutoring services, we have peer tutors, like I said before, in a range of these STEM lectures, Chem 1601 being one of them, but many others. So you can come and make an appointment, a one-on-one appointment, an individual appointment with one of the chem tutors, and you can sort of work through, say, your problem set from last night's homework. And the tutor will ask you questions to kind of help direct your thinking, and you guys will work through your material together, and you'll get probably a lot better, deeper understanding of maybe the questions that you are struggling with. And you also might get some, spot on, like in the moment, affirmative, positive feedback on the right way to do a problem, or maybe like a way that you did it previously that you could have done it a little bit more succinctly, or say in 5 minutes rather than in 10 minutes. So individual tutoring for those particular courses can take on a range of session parameters. And you can, like I said before, you can bring in problem sets, but for instance, if you are really confident in your class, and one of the ways that you are confident in your class is that you check yourself over and over and over. Our tutors are there to allow a second perspective on those checks. So just because you are acing a class doesn't mean it's not a good habit to kind of keep other people's perspectives in mind. So you could also use our tutoring services for that. We do group appointments as well. So if, for instance, maybe all of the individual appointments are full, we do group sessions where one tutor will lead up to 10 other clients. And in that case, you in your Chem 1601 class, alongside say 9 other Chem 1601 students, would join one Zoom group session with one tutor present. And in that place, the tutor would help arrange everyone's concept knowledge. And he or she would ask all of the clients what kinds of concepts you are working on. Are they similarly grouped? Are the problem sets wildly different? And in that place, the tutor is a facilitator to help you guys think through the concepts and to help you talk through and work with the other clients. And so that is a really great way for you to kind of like amp up your knowledge exponentially when you are thinking about concepts and talking about concepts to other people. It's almost like teaching. So you are really working through your material and trying to get to know it intuitively. And the good news is it's all free. You don't pay for it. Well, you pay for it in your tuition, but you've already done that part. So coming to see us right now is easy. It's just making an appointment. And I think those were the questions. Yes, Melissa, if there's additional, I can address them later.
That was great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Megan, we've had a couple of questions about the writing studio that are kind of similar, right? So one question is about like sort of the expertise of the folks who work in the writing center. How would you make sure that, like, if you're writing a paper for a specific field, the person who's helping you look at your paper knows something about that field? And I think actually related to that question, like, well, what is the kind of expertise? We've had several students ask about like whether first-year students can work in the writing center, which I think is also speaking to like how much expertise do these tutors have in a particular discipline?
Sure, thank you. So I'll start off by saying that our staff consists of undergraduate consultants, sophomores through seniors, graduate consultants who are studying at both the master's and doctoral levels, as well as professional full-time consultants, all of whom have PhDs in their respective fields. And for all of these groups of folks, these disciplinary backgrounds span a wide range of different departments. So that being said, in terms of the training that we provide for our consultants, there's an intensive 1-week training that takes place in August before the academic year begins. And all of our consultants are trained as writing generalists. This means that they are trained in the principles of strong writing across the curriculum. All of our consultants are therefore prepared to work with any client on any piece of writing from any discipline. Additionally, or I should say, kind of thinking about that from another perspective, right? We do also offer specific training modules on different types of writing or different genres of writing, or different types of essays that we see coming into the writing studio commonly, so that we can make sure that specifically our consultants are aware of those types of writing. So every individual person is bringing their own disciplinary background to their role as a writing consultant. If you are particularly interested in working with someone who maybe majors or minors in a particular area, and I'll send this link in the chat in just a moment, please check out our staff bios page, where we list all of that information for all of our consultants at all levels. Do keep in mind too also that there's something really, really beneficial about working with someone who does not have the same level of content knowledge that you have about a course. So certainly it's possible, depending upon the course that you're in, to meet with a consultant who maybe majors in that area or who has taken that course before. More than likely you won't, more than likely that will not be the case. And that's really generative too, because if you are really expressing yourself clearly in writing, someone who does not have that same kind of subject knowledge should be able to follow along clearly with what you're saying. And if that's not the case, that's a really productive moment for thinking about how to get your ideas across in a way that's going to be effective for your audience. In terms of hiring, we do not currently hire first-year students. In terms of that kind of the experience level, we do, for both tutoring services, also want students to kind of have that first year experience and make that transition to college learning and college writing before they then apply to become a peer consultant or peer tutor. But we do hire sophomores. So this January is when we will begin our hiring process. And I'll chat this link as well, but all of the information about what that process entails can be found on our website. The dates are going to be updated soon to kind of account for the slightly different timing of the spring semester. But we will have 2 informational sessions online in January that you can attend to learn more and to workshop your materials with other interested students and with some of our current consultants.
Thank you. Carrie, I have, there's 2 questions that students asked about the English Language Center that I think get to clarification about the role of the center. So does the English Language Center offer both sort of tutoring or editing support if you are writing a paper in another language, like French or Italian or Arabic? And if yes, how is that different from the services that are offered for folks who might be struggling to keep up with coursework because English isn't their first language?
Thank you for that question, for those questions, I should say. So our center, the majority of the opportunities that we have are for students who speak English as an additional language. The exceptions would be our Introduction to Teaching English as a Foreign Language workshop series, which takes place in the spring, and internship availabilities through the English Language Center. And additionally, we have resources on our website around academic writing guides and so forth that would be applicable to any student, regardless of what language you are focusing on or your first language. But as I mentioned, the majority of our opportunities do serve English students who speak English as an additional language. Now, we don't offer editing support. So our consultation, all of the opportunities in terms of classes or consultations are very much language development focused. So we're not an editing service. So we will help either students or consultees, students who come in for consultations, to identify their errors, but we do so in a way that helps them to be able to see those patterns and work through them to further their language development. So it's not an editing service, it's really to help further language development around identifying patterns and working through those that need to be addressed. I'm trying to remember if I hit on everything. Was that good? Okay.
Yeah, definitely, thank you.
Yeah.
So Megan Smith, can you, just to sort of shift the conversation away from academics, I think we're all sort of wondering, or I'll say, I also am wondering, you know, in the middle of this pandemic, with all of our concerns about staying distant from one another, like really minimizing contact, what opportunities are available for serving the Nashville community, and how could people get involved?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking that question. This shift has been significant and impactful for our nonprofit community too. And they have been actively working to either shift existing volunteer experiences or create new ones based on our kind of new circumstances. So there are some great resources to get started. We have some posted on the Oaks website. One in particular I'll highlight is the Hands On Nashville website. Hands On Nashville is itself a nonprofit that exists to support other nonprofits in our community. Nashville is really a hot spot for nonprofit innovation and support and collaboration. They're really a wonderful community to be part of. And Hands On Nashville has on their website, that we have a link to as well, of all virtual volunteer opportunities. So nonprofits can post directly to that site. You can also find a list of different nonprofits, and if you have a particular skill, you may be able to reach out to that nonprofit and offer that skill, and they may work with you to create a virtual opportunity. So that's more Nashville focused, but if you are more interested in maybe connecting with your hometown, or you're kind of asking those questions about preparing for study abroad or your immersion experience and maybe more international, and there are other organizations that have virtual opportunities posted as well. We've got links on our website where you can find some of those, and I'm also happy to meet with you and kind of think through, what are your goals? What are your passions? And what do you hope to learn? And we can connect you with a great community partner, even in this time when we are entirely virtual.
Thank you. While I have you, Megan, people were also asking, you know, usually when we have an election, we do some like assistance to the polls kinds of initiatives. Is anything happening that people could help with, or even just to get people to the polls on Tuesday?
Yes, there are support and resources being offered for Election Day, which is on Tuesday. And we will be offering rides to the polls. Vanderbilt crosses 2 voting districts. So you do need to, here, I'm gonna drop this link here. You just need to make sure that you are going to the correct polling place on Election Day. So we've got some links on our website where you can check where you are registered to vote in Davidson County or Nashville, and check then when you need to go. The rides to the polls will be offered starting at 8 a.m. And the last pickup will be, I believe, at 5:30. And one shuttle will go to one polling location associated with the campus address, and the other shuttle will go to the other polling location. We can also help you think through, because Tennessee does have voter ID laws. So just got some resources there to make sure you're prepared for that. You can also, if you'd like, request a letter of residency from the housing office via email. You just let them know, email them at o'hare@vanderbilt.edu and request that letter of residency. That's not required by law, but students in the past, on rare occasions, have been asked to show a letter of residency. So if you'd like to be prepared, you can request that from O'Hare. You should know though, if you go to vote and you are turned away for some reason, you have the legal right to request a provisional ballot. Usually that happens when someone forgets their ID or they didn't bring the right kind of ID, and you have a certain amount of time, typically 48 business hours, to bring the corrected form of ID directly to the Davidson County Election Commission office and still have your ballot be counted. So just be aware of those things as you're preparing to vote if you're registered in Davidson County. If you're registered elsewhere and you have an absentee ballot, check the laws for your state, because some states, as long as your ballot is postmarked by election day, it can still be counted. So just know the laws for your state. With our campus post office, you need to make sure that you go in person and speak with a clerk by 3:45 p.m. of the day when you need your ballot notarized or any piece of mail notarized. If it goes in the mail slot after the post office is closed at 4 o'clock, it'll be postmarked the next day. So just be aware of that. So know about Rise to the Polls and services through our campus post office for an absentee ballot to be notarized if your state will still accept it. And you can be looking for some fun things on election day to kind of make it a celebratory day, even though we're going to be staying a little farther apart this year.
Thank you. We only have about 15 minutes left, and I did want to ask a question to each office, actually. And so I want to make sure we have time for it, so I'm going to ask it now. And my question is, what is one piece of advice you have or a hope that you have for the ways that if the first year students would use your office this year? So how do you really hope, or what would you hope that students would do to connect with your office this year? And I think if we could just go in the same order we did for introductions to answer that. So we'll start with you, Mariah.
So I would hope this year that you would use the library by getting to know some of the resources beyond just the study space that we provide. You all are in lots of introductory classes right now, so you might not need electronic resources or databases as much right now, but it helps to become familiar with the fact that the library offers those services now and the fact that we offer chat and email reference and things like that. If you just want to test it out, you can check out our news resources just so that you start becoming familiar with how to access stuff from the library. That's probably the number one, is just learning to know that the library can help you. So start practicing kind of that route to take now.
Yeah, I would hope that y'all as first year students would see Oaks as a resource to explore social issues that matter to you. Something that's really important to us is that students can think deeply about why social issues are happening, kind of the historical context and the systems at play, without really being able to dig into those, identify them, identify how we as individuals with our own socialization and identity kind of play into that too. We can't really make a sustainable, lasting impact. So I would love for folks to get involved as soon as possible so that you can really do that work and get involved and learn how to do that after you leave Vanderbilt too. I think another really exciting thing to be doing now is building relationships outside of campus. Our nonprofit community, it's filled with really fantastic people who are excited to work with you. They're excited to hear your ideas, to put your skills to work, to invest in you and support your learning journey. So I would just love to hear what you're excited about and what you want to learn about and connect you with that person off campus who can be a guide and a mentor in that learning process too.
For students interested in the health professions, we definitely would love to see you come in, well, not come into our office, but meet with one of our advisors one-on-one when you're ready. But in the meantime, for sure, send an email to hpao@vanderbilt.edu and get on our listserv. When you send that request to get on our listserv, we also give you access to our Brightspace module, which has a lot of useful information So if you're not quite ready to engage with our office, please make sure you're reaching out and getting on that, getting at least access to that information. We will have, we'll have some small group meetings probably in the spring for freshmen and sophomores for you to potentially sign up for those. Those will all get advertised on our listserv. But the other key piece is if you are planning on applying to medical school or dental school in your junior or senior year, we do have a mandatory meeting that you must come to in the fall of your junior and senior year. And that's going to be critical for us to make sure that you're on our radar, at least at that point. But it's better to get on there now so that we can share information with you about opportunities, whether they're research opportunities or shadowing opportunities. All of that stuff comes through our listserv.
This is Eric from the Global Education Office. I would say to come in and talk with us is something that I would recommend for engineering students, students who are planning to double or triple major. If you are going to end up with an academic schedule at Vanderbilt for whatever reason that doesn't leave you with as much wiggle room as you might have if you were on a very straightforward academic path, come and see us for sure. Another thing that I would recommend is to start thinking, maybe use the month of January that we all have because of the rescheduling of spring, to start thinking about, you know, kind of what are your goals? Might immersion and study abroad play a role in those? If so, we will be in our virtual offices for the month of January. We're not going anywhere, so make an appointment. We'd love to chat with you one-on-one. And then finally, keep an eye out for our events. We have a few more this semester and some in the spring, but they're all virtual at this point, and so they're easily accessible wherever you are. And some of our programming may be useful to you, whether it's our study abroad overview, which can help you get a sense of for the kinds of activities and experiences that are available with study abroad. There's probably much more there than you would have thought of. But we're also happy to have those conversations with you one-on-one. So those would be my recommendations to think about planning ahead. And again, we're happy to talk about your goals with you, even if your goals are not well formed at this stage. If you just have vague ideas, we're still happy to talk with you. So yeah, that would be my advice.
So a common misconception with the English Language Center is that we serve students who are of low proficiency, when in fact we serve speakers of additional languages from varying levels. So you do not have to be of low proficiency to find our services useful. So my advice to you would be to come on and join us. Whether it's through a speaking, pronunciation, or writing course. And we offer those fall and spring. Students have access to one free course per semester. They're non-credit bearing, so they don't show up on your transcripts. And our sign up will be coming via email for our spring classes in December. So be on the lookout, or you can go to our website and sign up that way as well. Or the one-to-one consultations. They're 50-minute sessions. They focus on language, but another key piece is to remember that the English Language Center also helps with cultural expectations. So some of our most proficient students are really seeking answers to cultural questions around their communication, and we're here for you in that way. So my advice to you is to come join us and don't delay.
Yeah, hi, this is Miriam again with Tutoring Services. So if you are currently taking a course for one of the courses that we offer tutoring, so Gen Chem, Orgo, any of the calculus tracks, and on up the math fields, any of the physics lectures, any of the core courses in econ, neuroscience. Sorry. I would say please work in a session with us in tutoring to kind of explore the way you understand the core material for those courses and to explore it alongside a peer tutor. It's not too late to do it right now. This is a perfect time to make an appointment with a peer tutor or with one of our group sessions and work through the material that you've already gone over for the past semester and just get it kind of cemented down in your memory. Because if this is a track you're following, you're gonna want that nicely solid foundation down there. And I would also say that you want to consider tutoring services as another habit that you might want to consider building into your schedule, into your weekly schedule. So building in an extra hour once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month. We certainly see a lot of students come to tutoring services right before the exam happens, and pretty predictably the night or 2 nights before the exam. And if that's the way that you study best, then we have a lot of shifts and a lot of schedules that are geared towards allowing you that opportunity. But I would say it's, we understand now that learning happens best and knowledge is cemented most deeply in your memory when you study regularly and when you build it into a cycle that is predictable in your brain. So if this is something that, again, if STEM courses or econ is a direction that you are going to be following for your time here at Vanderbilt, then you absolutely need to plan ahead, as the rest of the leaders here have talked about. Plan ahead in your calendaring and find an hour that fits for you and that we can kind of work you into our schedule and you can work us into your schedule, and you will not be disappointed, I promise you.
So the Office of Immersion Resources is kind of in a unique position where we really don't recommend students coming in until their sophomore year for advising, because your first year on campus is really about exploring, finding out what you're interested in. But in the meantime, I do think it would be wise to start familiarizing yourself with some of the resources available. So one of the things that I mentioned today was our immersion portal. Take some time this semester just to log in and start looking around to see all the various resources that are available. Follow us on our social media. Immersion Vanderbilt is our big Instagram, and we post so much good information, not only from our office, but from other offices. And then lastly, I know classes are online mostly right now, but I do encourage you, unmute yourself occasionally and talk to your faculty. Learn what their research interests are. This is where you can start forming those early connections and finding, again, some of the things that you're interested in. So your sophomore year, April 1st, 2022, you will have to submit an immersion plan proposal telling us what you are going to do for immersion. So in the meantime, use this time to familiarize, center yourself in what immersion is. And then when you come in sophomore year for advising, to set your plan and put it together, you'll have all the information you need to really be successful with immersion. You're welcome again to come in and schedule advising. If you want to do that this year, we definitely won't turn you away. Now's a good time just to have some early conversations, but yeah, keep on exploring.
Hi, Megan Meinerich here with Writing Studio. I think one piece of advice I would share with first-year students would be to use the Writing Studio as a place for either starting to think about or starting to think more deeply about your own writing process. In the work that I have done with first-year students over the past decade or so, sometimes, when you're beginning college, there are these new expectations for writing, and what you were used to doing in high school isn't necessarily, what you need to be doing in college. And that transition can be really difficult sometimes. One of the things that can help so incredibly with that transition is developing that sense of self-awareness about yourself as a writer and about your writing process. Through conversations with consultants at the Writing Studio, that is something that we can help you do, right? That additionally is a skill that's not just going to benefit you in the short term for an individual project or an individual assignment for a particular class. Certainly it will benefit you there, but it's also something that you can carry with you as you continue to develop on your academic journey at Vanderbilt. And those lessons that you learn about yourself as a writer and what works for you and what skills and strategies are helpful for you are going to help with your success down the road as well in other courses, as well as with other kind of application-based writing projects that so many Vanderbilt students work on. So along with that too, I would just say as one other note, right, that we can, that's another way of saying that we can help you find your voice with the emphasis on your voice, right? It's again, through that process of conversation with others that we can learn about ourselves and how to express ourselves in the way that we most feel comfortable doing so and most want to. So please do come and benefit from working with one of our consultants.
Well, I want to say, first of all, thank you so much to all of the panelists for joining us today on a Sunday afternoon. And I'm so glad that students and faculty on the call had an opportunity to hear what you want to do, what you want to do and what you do. I wanted to say that last year I had so many conversations with students where I said, well, whatever the issue was, I said, well, have you talked to Career Services about that? Or have you made an appointment with Geo about that? Or whatever, you know, the issue was. And a lot of the time people hesitated to make an appointment because they felt that they didn't have a sufficiently fully formed question or idea yet. Like one student in particular, I remember saying like, well, I don't want to go to Career Services and say like, well, I don't know what to do or why I'm here. I need like, so that would be embarrassing. And I said, no, that wouldn't be embarrassing. That's their entire job, is to talk to you to figure out what are your interests? What could you do this summer to learn more about your interests? And so I just really want to encourage all the students on the call to remember that like, this is not a group of people who are waiting to work with 35-year-olds. This is a group of people who are waiting to work with 18 and 19-year-olds. And the whole idea of exploring in your first year is that you don't have to explore alone, right? It's such a huge, huge space. Vanderbilt, it's a beautifully resourced university that is both a huge asset and can be overwhelming sometimes because it's hard to figure out what are the resources and what should I be doing? So you can have an unformed question. There's no, like you can have a question that you think is really obvious, but if you looked at their website and you didn't find an answer, that's not an obvious question, right? So please don't hesitate to reach out to these offices, check out their websites, figure out how to make an appointment, and really take advantage of all the resources that we have here. Thank you again to our panelists for joining us tonight. And to students, go to bed early tonight because we have only 3 more weeks of classes in person, and I know it's going to be a fun and busy couple of weeks. So have a great night. Bye, everybody.